Ready?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the PPW podcast. Coming to you today, as you can see, from somewhere a little bit different. We are in person. We are here just next to the stage at PropTech and PortaWatch Bangkok. I'm joined by Harvey and Simon. How you doing, fellas?
Doing very well. A little tired.
Yeah, no jet lag, no hangovers, all good.
No jet lag.
Okay. We'll get into it. I want to talk about the major themes that we've been seeing over the past day and a half on stage here. First off, I want to talk about a new expression that Malcolm introduced that I'm now going to propagate. DAP, Dominant Advertising Portal. So Malcolm Myers always kicks off these events. Very brainy guy, excellent data. And this year with a new little acronym, DAP, Dominant Advertising Portal. Basically what he's saying is, the traditional classifieds model. And he was speculating that actually this is a model that maybe doesn't work in this region. Simon, this is something you know all about. Firstly, DAP, is it going to stick? Secondly, did he have a point?
Well, the DAP acronym, no idea, but let's give it a shot. And then does he have a point? Yeah, I think what he's really saying is we've got 2 decades of experience now that we can look back on in established markets like Europe, Australia, US. You can have a dominant portal that does incredibly well and a good ecosystem around them, probably a strong number 2 that's profitable. But what he's saying is in Southeast Asian markets, and you can really call Latin American markets a similar characteristics, is that the advertising model is so much harder to make successful, and this concept of a truly dominant portal doesn't really work, except of course for Singapore, which is fundamentally more European in its structure than it is in the rest of Southeast Asia. Of course, that leads on to what models are working in this area, and that's where this transaction type model seems to be making a lot of progress. And we've seen with, we had Paul Trayman from Fuzzwaz presenting about what they're doing here in Thailand, and I think his numbers were like 20 million of revenue, profitable business, and it's transaction-based business. So yeah, I think Malcolm with his DAP acronym is probably bang on that. Traditional markets, established markets, dominant portals absolutely work, but the rest of the world, you got to find a different way to make some money.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's actually kind of informative to look at who's in the room, and that can give you an idea of, what models are working, what models are not working. I think this is, I'm right in saying, a record or close to a record, at least the best we've had in terms of attendees over the last 3 or 4 years in the room. However, are there many DAPs in this room? Not particularly. Right?
No, with being a Southeast Asian being an Asia Pacific focused type event, no, because we have REA here, right? So that's a dominant player in the world, but Property Guru is not here, right? But then we've got a bunch of really interesting other businesses that are here, and that's what I think makes this very special conference.
Yep, totally agree. Speaking of who's at the conference, I personally am having all kinds of trouble remembering what all of these little businesses do and all things like that. I don't know if you've been the same. You're better with the prop techs than I am. Who have you seen that you liked? Anything that's been really interesting that you've noticed that you've gone, oh, all right, that's an interesting business that I want to interview or whatever?
It's a good question. A couple of names stand out. Obviously, the first one we have to mention is our sponsor, PropTech. They're one of the standout businesses in the industry at the moment. So big shout out to Joshua and to Stefan. We've got an interesting business model out of India where they've not launched yet. I was talking to them at the drinks a couple of nights ago. They're pre-revenue, but they've been working on building a very interesting business in India. I can't tell you too much now because they are very much in stealth mode.
Well, we'll have to keep them in stealth mode then.
We'll have to keep them in stealth mode for now.
So watch this space. We're not quite sure what for.
Watch this space. It's in India. One business that we do have to give a shout out to is obviously Courtney at SellSmart, who's just won the Pitch Club competition. Mm-hmm. Really nice business model coming out of Australia. Already making decent money. Simon, you were watching her on stage. I guess I just want to pick your brains on her business in particular.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of emerging models that really leverage so they're leveraging the Matterport platform to then help people with homes that either need renovation or changes to them. To, you can't get someone to always go and look at the property to quote on what's happening. So they use Matterport, map out the room, allow people to quote on a whole bunch of changes that can occur to it, and then they're taking a clip of the ticket on the way through. So I think it's a fantastic model that's starting to get some traction in the market, and I think super interesting. Also interesting, and they presented briefly because they were last year's winner, is a company called Spacely, which is also doing some interesting stuff in the virtual, looking at presentation of spaces and how you can look them online, and this sort of digital twins. A lot about digital twins actually have come up in the conference.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you about with regards to kind of some of these smaller businesses is, how do you stand out? Because someone will tell me their business model, the name of their business, and I forget it 10 seconds later. How do you stand out? And I imagine that how do you stand out doesn't involve putting the word AI in your business, because that will make me forget it even quicker.
Well, no, everyone's got AI in their business. So no, don't put AI. That's the first thing. It's actually quite hard to stand out. And I think there are sort of two things that we pick, not just from the pitch club, but from everyone who's presenting. You've got to have a compelling business model, something that intuitively feels like it's going to engage and have strong upside to it. I think, two, when you pitch the business or talk about the business, introduce the business, and we had Ryan from iVox as one of the panel judges. He was asking every presenter, what's that one sentence elevator pitch for your business? The thing that conveys the message, I'm a customer, I'm an investor, that I just get it, right? That's what helps make it stand out. And then I think the last thing is, you've got to be solving a real problem, right? Something that we all go, yeah, I can understand that. That makes sense, that I'm trying to solve a real problem.
I've been asking people, my kind of go-to, like Ryan's, is you have assumed that I know more than I do. Explain this to me like I'm 7 years old.
Yes,
absolutely. I think we can also zoom out a bit further. Actually, I think there's, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you'll disagree with me, Simon, but I think overall the real estate industry has a messaging and positioning problem. I think there are a lot of people that are very focused on their features. We do AI this, we do AI that. There isn't a big focus on the benefits and the problem solving, as Simon said. I think maybe we've got some, what we'd say, legacy thought leaders in the industry, where we've got a new generation coming through who haven't quite nailed down who they are and where they stand among the bigger crowd right now. I think there's a positioning and a messaging issue inside the industry, and I think these are young businesses that still haven't quite matured enough to know exactly what their value proposition is and where they're going to be in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, what their grand vision is, and being able to, verbalize it, as you say, in an elevator pitch kind of sense.
Yeah, but I think, I agree. Do
you agree on being called a legacy thought leader? I thought that was
Yeah, I am old, but I'm not. I don't know if I'm legacy, right?
You are,
but I'll take the thought leader element, right? But I do think the issue is that a lot of these businesses have identified an opportunity, right? So SellSmart, good example. We've got AI, we've got the Matterport type products. We can do digital twins. Now, how do we apply that? Hey, let's help home renovations and painters or people putting in, moving walls or whatever to do the job easier, faster, without having, and they can pitch from their office rather than having to go and look at the location. Now the question is, how much of a problem are you really solving? Is it just early adopters and then you fall off a cliff, or are you going to hit some mainstream market and just boom out of the gates? Super big business. And I think when you start that boom moment and you're not talking to the early adopters who are going to buy anything that you're pitching, that's when you really hone your message, refine your message, and that's where there's a crispness that emerges out of it.
So preciseness, a clarity.
Yes. So from a thought leader, that's how I would think about it.
Right. Okay. I want to move on there. If I were to ask most of the people at the conference what has been their favorite presentation so far, usually people will say Malcolm. It's always excellent. But there's one in particular that I have had people say, oh, that was absolutely brilliant, because it was just so forthright and honest. Mike Kenner from Lifeful has set, in my opinion, a new standard of
outspoken.
Not even outspoken. It's just like honesty on stage. Just coming on stage and going, yeah, we fired a bunch of people. We had to do it. We're not sorry. I mean, some of those people, I know some of those people fired, but I did applaud his honesty, right?
It was almost like Elon Musk had entered the room with the Doge guys and going, this, and this didn't make sense. We got rid of them, and it was very blunt and to the point.
As someone who puts on a conference, how much can you kind of curate what people are willing to share, or like to what extent can you vet people and say you have to be honest? I know we always do, but like, how can we make people be as honest as Mike? I would love it if everybody was that honest.
Yeah, I think it's very challenging, and a lot of people for many reasons don't want to be that direct.
Yeah,
they're either thinking about shareholders, they're thinking about customers. Some of the customers may be in the room, some of the competitors may be in the room, and so they're always a little edging around them. I remember, if you go back to the old days of running this conference, I would have 4 German portals in the room, and they would, give them a chance to present. No, sorry, I don't want to present. I don't want to present. And they all wouldn't want to present because their competitors were sitting in the room, right? So you had these sort of interesting dynamics occur. But both Mike Kenner from Life Will Connect and Paul Trayman, who runs FuzzWaz, which is one of their major divisions, were very direct to the point. And I think what's interesting is that it's actually a cultural thing that they've developed internally.
Yeah.
Where they just got, and for them they come out of the school of hard knocks. They've had to really build businesses from the ground up, and they don't want to waste a second, right? They go, now, are you making money? Are you adding value? If not, goodbye, next.
Yeah.
And it's that degree of ruthlessness. But you need to have that if you're going to build a transaction-based business, because you're not dealing with a Rightmove-esque 70% EBITDA.
Yeah, you're not a tech company, you're a real estate company, right?
Yes. You're dealing with a 20% margin or a 25% margin, and you want to make that 1 or 2 extra percentage points. Well, you can't sort of be nicey about it, or you've got to drive A/B testing. If it doesn't work, move on.
Could I ask one question on Mike and FuzzWaz? He came out the blocks very strongly and said, we are going big in Latin America. This is a segment of the market, of the global market, that he readily admits that he has no familiarity with. Can they do it, Simon?
Okay, so the question is, why would someone based in Phuket or based in Thailand go Mexico? Right, it sort of intuitively doesn't make sense, except when you've now taken over control of Life Will Connect and you've got this big Latin American asset, Lamudi, based out of Mexico City. So he's got a problem to solve.
You have to do something with it, right?
Yeah, you can't go, I'll get to it in a couple of years. No, he's got to solve the problem today, right? Now, they're clearly going to explore, what do I do with this asset? Can I grow it? Can I take the transaction model that's worked incredibly well for them, or is working incredibly well for them in the Southeast Asian market, and apply it in the Mexican market? And I think it's like an Excel spreadsheet. It's easy to put numbers in there, but making those numbers come to life is a lot harder. And I did ask him the question when we do our question sessions to the presenters, was, if you didn't have the asset,
would you go to Latin America?
Would you go to Mexico, right? And the answer is probably not. You'd probably go to Malaysia or Philippines or Indonesia or somewhere that makes more sense. But this is an indication of the level of practicalness or practicality within the business. Is I got to solve it. I'm not going to wait around. So I like it. So yeah, he's gonna have to solve it. Whether they end up expanding and doing what his initial thought is, or maybe they end up selling it, but they will solve the problem of, I've got it, I need to make it valuable as part of my
I got the feeling they won't waste any time on it.
No. The one thing that's clear when you talk to these guys and you listen to them is that they make decisions.
They're incredibly decisive. I was very lucky to speak to Mike privately for best part of an hour yesterday, and he said that they want to be, basically monetizing Mexico by the second half of this year. We're currently mid-March. That means he's got about 12 weeks to maybe make an acquisition, hire someone to lead the market, introduce the transaction model, monetize it. They are going to have to be incredibly decisive if they're going to live up to their promise of actually monetizing it.
Well, the good news is they are making money there at the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. It's not like they're coming from zero. Making more money and moving to I think he's talking about monetizing the transaction.
Yes. Apologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about? AI?
I want to. Yeah.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there, right?
Yeah, we've gone, I don't know, 20 minutes without talking about it. We have to talk about it. I actually heard someone during one of the sessions at the back mutter, oh, more AI talk. But yeah, we've got to talk about it, right? I sensed a bit of, for the first time since we've been talking about AI at these conferences for, I don't know, like 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
In various forms.
In various forms.
Yeah.
I have started to sense some revisionism in the water. And some people, not you, actually, you're still like championing it. A lot of people saying, oh, do you know what? Actually, maybe it's not going to be as quick as we thought. And oh, you know what? Actually, portals are doing a pretty good job. What's been the sense of both of you in terms of like the sentiment that's been on stage about AI?
One of the things that I've noticed, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you'll disagree, is that I feel like there's an element of, I think there's a bit more of a fear element this time around. I think there's part of the businesses are noticing the threats that come with AI in the same way that they are talking about the opportunities a year ago. They're very excitable. It's a new thing. It's a new toy that we can play with. Now the reality is setting in. We've built our basic chat search. We're doing some virtual staging. What's next? Whatever's next is going to be bigger. It's going to put my staffing at risk. It's going to put me as a business owner at risk. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed it, but I feel like there's a little bit more fear of AI this time around than excitement.
Yeah, I would class it as maybe a bit of denial. And
I can see that. I can see that.
And this is the legacy bit coming in, right? Is that if I go back to the times of the newspapers, and I use this as an example on stage, is if you're sitting inside a newspaper in 1990, 1995, the internet exists. It's not like it didn't exist, but nothing like it is today. And you're sort of looking at it going, yep, it's not going to change my world, etc. And now, of course, if you could lift that person up from 1995 and shove them in 2025, I go, oh my God, what's a newspaper, right? Don't know the last time you guys ever touched a newspaper. I haven't touched one for a decade.
Years, yeah.
I don't know. They are irrelevant in that form. Now, I think the danger here is that there's a lot of people who have got existing business models that are making very good money, and AI in a different form has come along. So AI to help make my internal systems and processes run better. Great. Embrace. It's just technology. We've put a label of AI on top, and someone had a great chart up there, chatbot AI. And now they call it AI.
Yeah, right.
And there's all these names that used to be there, and now there's
it's called AI.
Everything's called AI. Yeah. So, and they're right. It's just it's had a branding revolution, right? Is the way to think about it. But we're now talking about agentic search, these AI agents, which are now starting to do the work that we used to do. And we're talking about, well, I would go and search for something and I'd plow through 10 airline sites, or I'd go to Kayak and I'm trying to find a flight and I'm trying to match it with my points and so on. There are now these AI agents that are doing all that work. So I just go, I want to go from Bangkok back to Madrid, sort my problem out. Right? And they come back and then give me the option. I can go book.
Okay. It was put to you on stage. I thought it was very good of Jonathan to flip the question back on you and just put you on the spot and say, right, what do you think? So you're kind of championing it. You're one of the people in the industry that says this will change everything.
I think it will.
Or this has the best chance of anything in the last 20 years of changing everything.
Yes.
And he said, well, given you saying that, do you think, for example, REA Group is going to be seriously challenged, go out of business in 5-10 years?
Yes. My answer was they'll be seriously challenged. They're not going to go out of business.
So I'm gonna flip this now a little bit. Yeah. So we are PropTech and PortaWatch. Like most of the people we know, most of our business is portals. Is it going to challenge us?
Yeah, we should be AI agentic search watch.
All right. Got to make friends with.
No, I think at the end of the day that we will morph and move with it as well. Right, and it makes sense. What my true feeling is that the traditional portals either have to adapt and embrace and find a way to leverage their brand, their data, their and technology experience and capabilities to provide you, Ed, with an agentic search. Right, meaning, instead of coming to the portal to sit there and filtered search and engage with the portal's going to go to you, right? And you're going to have your agentic search, but you'll probably have a bundle of them, right? You'll have one that manages, I don't know, setting up appointments for your friends, and one which will handle your kids, school and whatever over time. And so there'll be all these things that you just ask it to do something, and it knows what to do, and it just frees up your day from the drudge.
So you're saying brand each one of these?
Yeah, and there could be an REA or a Rightmove branded agentic search. And it's saying, and why do I trust that? Well, because Rightmove always returns accurate results. It shows me the market and so on. How it does it, I don't care anymore. They don't have to be listings on Rightmove as we know today.
Okay, so next question then becomes, without using the phrase "snowball's chance in hell," what do you think Rightmove's ever going to build? Or just
snowball's chance in hell?
Are they actually going to?
Or the chance of a sunny English day? Yeah. So will they end up doing it?
I mean, are they obligated to do it, whether they want to or not?
They're certainly not obligated, but I think if I was them, I'd be proactively saying, well, you've got these things. We looked today at Manus.im. There's operator, ChatGPT. Well, why can't there be operator Rightmove or Rightmove whatever, right? And that search, I go to it, and it's just, I just go, and it can be on their site, but it can be on my, on via. The question is, how do you get it to someone, right? How do I embed it into WhatsApp?
And do they have to pay for it if Rightmove's building their own personal?
Now this is where I think the challenge comes, right? How do you then monetize it? Because most of the portals are monetized today because and I used the analogy before, newspapers were mega inefficient. I got to see a small part of the market. I had to then talk to an agent who I then, having spoken to the agent, I eventually got to see the house and so on. Then you have the internet come along, which aggregates more listings, so it becomes more efficient, but it's not fully transparent, and it's not fully efficient because I get paid ads at the top, right, just for placement towards the top. And all we're doing is going down that efficiency and transparency curve, right, till we get to the end point, which is, show me the houses in a suburb that meet my criteria. I got a kid who's going to go to school. I need to be safe and whatever. Just show me what there is. And I don't want the noise. I don't want to, and by the way, can you be always on, please? So I know this is not, I don't wake up on Tuesday morning and I'm buying a property Tuesday afternoon. You can do it with a car, but you're not going to do it with a house. Okay. You want to buy a new iPhone, you're probably going to buy it, and you're probably going to go down to Apple and pay your money and get your iPhone. But houses are a longer process. Because it's a longer process, and you're always, I wonder what else is on the market. Maybe something will come on the market. Maybe the interest rate's going to drop or whatever, right? And it can impact your decision making and time frame. But you want something that's always on in the background and doing that work. That's what the true agentic search should be, and it should be the one that gets to know, well, Ed, what do you want, right? And you'll start with an idea of what you want, and then your wife will chip in, and then the two of you will come to an idea of what you want, and then there'll be maybe something will change, maybe a family issue will change, it will then change the dynamics again. And then as you explore and learn what you want, you know what, I don't really want to have a pool because I got a young kid and fence, I'm a bit nervous, and I don't want that. What I'd rather have is a big backyard, and so I can put a little soccer pitch in and whatever. I don't know, right? That exploration and that journey, it should come with you on that journey. And if it comes with you on that journey, it's going to keep resurfacing or surfacing new opportunities. Okay. And then it should be engaging you in a conversation, whether textually or verbally. Okay. And through that whole journey, you will find the best fit. It won't be the 100% best fit. It'll be a pretty good fit though for what you want.
It seems like that 2 minutes or whatever it was of you telling your vision of how this is going to be is either going to make you look like an absolute genius in 5-10 years, or we'll just
or I'll be legacy,
or you'll be a legacy thought leader.
A redundant, thoughtless legacy leader.
We're going to wrap it up there because we've got to have some lunch, frankly. Thank you very much for spending your time talking to us. Yes. Calls to action at the end of the podcast. Yes. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Okay. If you haven't already thought about coming to Madrid to join us in our Madrid conference, think about coming to that. There'll be obviously a whole load of marketing coming out in the next few months, and it will find you.
Okay. By the way, if you've got a really interesting story and something that you think that we should be talking about, then let's reach out to us, because we're always looking for interesting people to talk to. in the industry. We've got a lot of people who want to talk to us. Some have got great stories. And we want to have great content that we can bring to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. See you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.